Welcome back to Rare Delicacies. I'm John, and for today, I want to talk about science fiction. And in that, I want to talk about how science fiction has been somewhat pigeonholed as a genre. Of course, by that I mean that when you think of science fiction, you tend to think of or even we think that in order to do a proper science fiction story, we need to have size, we need to have scale, it always has to have a big astronomical budget. We tend to forget that science fiction is not about the spectacle. It's about the exploration of the possible. And a lot of times, in the history of film, there have been examples that actually want to delve into big concepts, but on a very modest scale, and do so very successfully. For today's example is a film that was written by the late, great Jerome Bixby. Jerome Bixby was a prolific science fiction writer who wrote some of the best episodes of both Star Trek and The Twilight Zone, specifically. And this film in question was a screenplay formulated from an idea Bixby had for decades. And then finally, even on his deathbed, he dictated this story out to his son Emerson, and this story wound up becoming the screenplay The Man from Earth. Emerson Bixby shopped this script around to various producers, and of course their first instinct was to blow it up and make it bigger, make it a big conspiracy drama. But he said, no, I want to keep this simple. The Man from Earth was made on a very modest budget of about $100,000, and it was filmed over the span of 8 days, but in lieu of that, actually has a wonderful cast. Of course, notables include William Catt and Tony Todd, and this film, while definitely didn't have a wide release, as we tend to know. Even on independent film standards, it didn't have a wide release. However, when it got leaked out on BitTorrent, it actually ended up developing some groundswell. And in time, it actually has become one of the most acclaimed science fiction films in recent memory. In fact, if you check up on IMDb, you'll see it's actually very highly rated. And the cult success of Man from Earth was so astronomical, in time it was adapted into a very successful stage play. And now, in celebration of the 10th anniversary, a new Blu-ray release just got done. And, for extra measure, finally, a sequel just came out, Man from Earth Holocene, which has been touring on the festival circuit and will soon be released on DVD in the end of February. So, in order to delve deeply into this one, I decided to bring over my good friend Luis Lacau from Man Bites Film to discuss the film further. And for that, I take you over here. And we're back again, and welcoming back to Rare Delicacies is...
My name is Luis. I'm a co-host at Man Bites Film and Man vs. Film, our new show that we review fandom versus fandom. And Man Bites Film is basically just your general review show that you've been a part of as well. And we love our guests, and also we just review stuff that's streaming on the Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all the streaming services, basically, the big ones.
Yes, the big boys. Well, that is the complete opposite of what we're talking about today. Prior to me inviting you to come have a look-see at this film, what was your initial reaction when I told you that we were watching this?
I honestly thought it was an Argentinian film, and I was like, is this the one that K-Pax was based on? And I was like, no, that's it. And then you told me, no, it's not it. I'm like, I've seen this before, so I'm like, all right, let's watch this. And I was like, I'm not gonna look up anything, I'm not gonna do anything. I was like, I don't want to know anything about this going in, so I want to go in completely fresh-eyed, completely like
totally cold turkey. Yeah, this one came out of nowhere for me as well when I first stumbled on it. People forget that sci-fi can just be a bunch of people talking at in a remote house in New Mexico.
Those are usually the best ones. I mean, the ones that are more cerebral than just special effects and ball to the wall action. You know,
mm-hmm. This one pretty much dares you to question particularly a lot of theological aspects, particularly regarding the origins of Christianity, like the philosophies of Christ.
I'm gonna love this.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty bold. And then later on, it got at least enough groundswell that Richard Shankman inevitably adapted to the stage.
Really?
Yes. Ask me how I know that.
You've been part of it?
I was in it.
Are you serious?
The play, the scripts, the movie is probably some of my favorite work because it's fun when you're an actor to challenge yourself and challenge your audience. I want to do this one, A, because I love this piece of work and I really want everyone to know about it. And also, additionally, the sequel's coming out.
Really?
Yep. Coming out pretty soon. So odds are pretty good. I may do Rare Delicacies for the second one just so we can pimp it out further.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. What expectations do you have going in on this?
Honestly, I have no idea. At least from what you've been saying and everything, I think this will it will definitely catch my attention at least, and we'll be able to have a good discussion about theology and everything else, I guess.
I think that will definitely be in the cards once you finish watching this sucker.
At least from what it sounds like.
All right, so without further ado, if you guys have not seen either, you can find it on iTunes iTunes. It's pretty much where I was only able to find it. Yeah, it's not. Well, I mean, you can get the Blu-ray. The 10th anniversary Blu-ray just got released, so you can definitely find it there. It's like $21. I bought it.
I mean, look what
I still buy. I still buy mine.
I love my physical copy. Are you kidding? There's nothing like the audio commentaries and all that stuff that you don't get on a digital copy.
You can tell a lot about a person when you walk in and look at their DVD collection. You got an idea of what kind of person you're dealing with when you walk in and you see that they have Joe Dirt, and you're like, you can hide a watch history on Netflix. You can't hide your DVD collection.
Nope.
And I want people to make sure they look in and they say, wow, you got the Man from Earth. What's the Man from Earth?
Yeah.
Well, we intend to remedy that. That's what Rare Delicacies is all about. And so without further ado, this is the Man from Earth. Well,
that was pretty badass.
Let me ask, were you doubting it at all? Like, did you think he was full of it?
No, but that's because I saw where it was going.
You did?
I saw where you could tell from the beginning the way that it was set up.
We're going to have to get into...
Right from the beginning. I mean, right from the beginning, you could tell that he was serious about it. And I guess maybe I'm more gullible about that type of stuff. And I wanted it to be that.
You wanted to believe.
Yeah. I was like, what's his face? The balding dude. The one that's the jokes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more like him.
Yeah, you were that guy who was really curious about it. I'd say my favorite character in the entire one was Tony Todd's character, because you could see he was very inquisitive. He was very curious. He was wanting to believe. The wonderful thing about the piece when I first read it and when we were doing it, I love that there is a genuine conflict where you want to believe him, but you can't poke holes in it because he's got an answer for everything.
Yeah.
But alternatively, he's not giving any concrete proof.
Which he explains that too, and he gets away with it because of how he explains things and how he presents it. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, if I lived this long, how would I remember something that happened freaking 10,000 years ago?
Yeah, one of my favorite...
How am I going to remember how that felt?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened to you 2 years ago? Like,
yeah, I was about to say, one of my favorite retorts is when the woman asks him, where were you on this day? Well, where were you a week ago?
Yeah.
It's like, who genuinely remembers every single intricacy from their life? Yeah, they're going to remember traumatic incidences because that's why they're traumas, is because they stay with you.
There's no way.
There was no live streaming back in the days of Cain and Abel.
I also love the fact that he was genuine about it. It wasn't like he was trying to get attention. He wasn't trying to do that. Right from the beginning, he sounded very down to earth, very like, oh look, I want you guys to know because I consider you guys my friend.
He's pretty much been bearing the secret and having to hop from one place to another every 10 years. You can imagine the frustration of not being able to tell people. And like he said, he did tell someone a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it didn't go over the way it went over a different way back then. But now, you'd think with us being as quote unquote enlightened, as we are, that we'd be able to accept a truth like this, but it turns out, nope, we're still not ready for it.
And I love that. That was probably one of the most intriguing factors of the whole film, was the fact that we're not ready for anything like that. We're not ready for somebody to challenge us like that.
How did you react when pretty much the ultimate concrete proof was revealed at the dead end?
That was fantastic. And I was like, oh, head exploding scene type of thing. I was like, oh, that is awesome.
When I first read
Shyamalan, you're
Shyamalan got nothing on this ending because,
and I don't even want to go into that one.
And the best part is, I would have been okay if it had ended on this ambiguous note of whether or not he was telling the truth. But at the same time, I love it even more because it's such a substantial tragedy to find out that, there is another reason why he has to leave and leave people behind is because, unfortunately, actually it's what I call Highlander syndrome. It's the whole idea that you live too long and you end up seeing your loved ones wizen and die in front of you. It's bad for them. It's bad for you. It's bad therapy. It's harsh. And if there was any way you were going to get concrete proof of what this guy was saying, that was the way, and it's not pleasant.
Like you said, I would have liked the ambiguous ending, but I loved the twist ending so much that it was just perfect. I loved it. It felt like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Now, for those keeping up, as you remember, he brings in a bunch of experts in various fields. He's got an archaeologist, a theologian, he's got a psychiatrist, and a philosophy professor, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Not
philosophy. He's a psychologist.
The one who turns out to be who he turns out to be, that was a psychiatrist. William Catt was the archaeologist. The older woman, she was a theologian. Theologian. And I believe the Tony Todd's character, I believe he was the philosopher. No, anthropologist. He was anthropologist. That's what he is. You'd think that the people who would be open to the story are the people who are like the pioneers in their field and
all the tops of their field. I mean, that's what they are. They're supposed to be like the head of their...
And many of them react in the complete opposite way you'd probably want them to react. I mean, well, especially the woman, the theologian. That woman...
Oh, but... Hold on, before you go into
we got to get into...
go into that one.
Yeah, this is the part of the movie that really riled people up hardcore, is when John Oldman reveals that he was Jesus. And even freakier is he didn't do any healing like the way it was written. Just the fact that he, before that time, went to the East and just learned healing techniques that in this other part of the world had never been seen before. So it was like, witchcraft!
That's incredible, and it's so true. If you've studied the Bible, if you studied the Quran, if you studied all these biblical texts, these manuscripts for each of the religions, I mean, they're very, very similar.
It leads me to
even the Eastern ones.
Exactly. I mean, it makes me wonder. It's a shame that Jerome Bixby's passed on, because I would have loved to have sat down and picked his brain about this, because this seems like it was like his hardcore passion piece. It seemed like the story he really wanted to tell, because it seems like he knew so much about all these respective philosophies and religions in order to mine them, to kind of ponder what if there was someone who was there at the origin of all of this.
I mean, the film has a lot of backstory without giving any backstory. Even then, it flushes out all the characters that show up on the film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you assume a lot of things, but the way that he lets you assume that is by the dialogue and everything, and it's great because you get the characters flushed out completely.
Yeah.
All the characters on screen get flushed out completely in the film.
Mm.
And some of them don't even have any lines of dialogue.
William Catt's character, Art, kind of just sits back and observes for the most part, but he's the one who reacts probably the most in the most volatile fashion, because he's a published author. He's like one of the most respected in his field. Knows his shit.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and then all of a sudden here's a guy who
is just completely destroys his whole world.
He essentially trivializes it and reminds us that archaeology, for all intents and purposes, is just a very elaborate game of telephone.
I love how the reaction is of the professors in contrast with the women.
Yeah.
The younger women. The younger women accept it. The student especially. She accepts it right from the beginning and allows it.
Well, the youngest student isn't so much that she accepts it, it's just the fact that she just is... If there's anything she does accept, it's the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because, once again, he does not... there's nothing that can be refuted about it.
But she even defends him.
Yeah, she comes to his defense.
Cool.
Which is,
both of them.
It's probably
both of the younger women, the teacher's aide and the student.
And what's hilarious is that young girl comes in with Art, the archaeologist.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, this is probably the most philosophical cock block I've ever seen.
That's it. There's no way.
Art's gonna be too damn pissed to want anything. It's not so much about who these professors are as people. It's about what they represent.
Yes.
And how when confronted with someone who has the keys to all the knowledge that we've all been aspiring to, how do we truly react when he does have the definitive proof?
Yeah.
And if he, I think one of my favorite bits is when the theologian breaks down crying because she's trying to say, "You're not Jesus. You're not." And then and then she just asks, "Are you?" And he said, "Well, if I said no, could you truly accept it?"
It's a wonderful ride, and it's something that I will definitely be buying because this is something that was very enjoyable.
I have no idea. I haven't seen the sequel yet. I mean, all I know, and you can consider this a promotion for the sequel, Richard Shankman, we're promoting it for you. It takes place 10 years down the line. The main character, he's actually starting to age. Art, William Katt's character, he was profoundly affected by that night, and so he decides to write a tell-all book about that night. Unfortunately, he's greeted with scorn and derision because, of course, there was never any definitive proof.
Like, who the hell is going to believe you if you tell the story?
Yeah. Well, here's the hitch. Some college students actually wind up tracing the professor back to, the main character back to his prior lives. That's as far as the synopsis takes you. Is that now for the first time, as the world changes, it's going to be harder and harder to cover his tracks.
Yeah.
So
because there's so much information out there.
That is going to be made available probably sometime late January, early February. So, Man from Earth, Holocene. That's what that one's called.
We gotta watch that one.
Oh, that's going to be another. Yeah, that will be another rare delicacy down the line. So, what do you got next coming up on Man Bites Film?
We're actually going to be doing an episode with you and I reviewing the awesomeness that is 007 and Mission Impossible.
Yes, as many of you recall, I did the Double-Ovember, which was a chock full of fun right there. And also, if you guys, for next year, for Double-Ovember, once again, leave in the comment section on any of those reviews. Tell me what aspect of Bond you want me to review next year. The villains, the theme songs, the girls. Leave it in the comments. I want to know.
Because I love the Mission Impossible franchise, and I think that he's an underrated actor, Tom Cruise.
I definitely agree. I mean, when you do a dance on Oprah's couch, I mean, you're giving people some ammunition. But that being said, it's been, a decade or so plus?
Yeah.
Since around the time, I think it was around the time War of the Worlds came out.
I think Scientology ruined him.
Yeah, well,
in the public eye.
Find me someone that enriched.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't want to throw stones, but let's face it.
Yeah, I know. It didn't do what it wanted to do. Definitely not.
I'm sure Hubbard is probably like going, "What are you guys doing? It was a book. Just a book."
Yeah, right. Well, that's what a lot of people would say.
Yeah. Imagine if the main character of Man from Earth ran into L. Ron Hubbard. What would he say about the whole thing? Ooh. What if he's actually the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard? He is so sued! Friggin' R. Kelly, Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and now John Oldman in a closet.
Check this out. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah,
it's worth buying for that matter.
75, 80-minute long movie, and it's practically flies by. And definitely jump on it because Man from Earth Holocene's coming out.
Yep.
And even if you run across any theater show that's doing it, definitely jump on that as well. But in the meantime, I'm John Reed Adams.
My name is Louis.
And this is Rare Delicacies. And for more addictive content than Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.